Hello everyone and welcome back to Game Week 1 of the 25-26 Slater and Gordon Premiership, the penultimate round of fixtures for the day, for the weekend. You join myself, Ryan Sipple, alongside Ben Rogers for GBG Knights versus Middlesbrough. Let's go through the squads, starting with GBG Knights. They have Ben Keat, Reece Mallet, Kai Shah, Oscar Smedley, George Holloway and Jack Ewins. And for Middlesbrough, chasing their first points of the division, Ethan Galloway, James Found, Kath Goldsborough, Cole Forster, Umar Hanif, Thomas Pettigrew, their coach Caroline Goldsborough. Let's show the live league table so you can see how things are shaping up. Disregard the championship at the top, but you'll see there is a clear pack at the top. Aspire, Greenbank, Newcastle all on 10 points. Teesside, Leeds and West Brom all on 9. And then there is this divide whereby you've got two teams on 3 points in Villa and Throttles, and then the rest are chasing for their first win, these two included. So this is absolutely huge. Give me your thoughts, Ben.
I think both teams probably want some points. They're both teams probably more likely to be fighting to stay in the Premier League, but I'm not really too sure who will win this.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched both of these across Game Week 1 and I would say, based on that, I would perhaps favour GBG Knights in this one. I thought they were fantastic in what turned out to be a 2-0 defeat to Villa Rockets. Middlesbrough came so close to getting something against Leeds, going a goal up, eventually losing 2-1. If they can produce that level of performance, then they'll certainly be in with a shout of leaving the weekend with 1 win from their 4 games. You can see the top goal scorers on your screens now. Dan McClellan and Mitch Tinkler leading the charts with 8 goals each. Remarkable accumulation in Game Week 1. And then fairly noticeable gap between the likes of John Dixon, Marcus Harrison and others. But the teams are ready. Graham Mulgrew, our central official, is ready. And we are underway here. Penultimate game between GBG Knights and Middlesbrough to go through the squads as they start this fixture. GBG Knights have Jack Ewins, Oscar Smedley, George Holloway and Kai Shah, the quartet who was so good against Villa Rockets. Middlesbrough, James Found, Kath Goldsborough, Cole Forster and Umar Hanif. It's of course a cliche in football, in sport, but I truly believe the first goal will decide the outcome and the winner of this. If you used to put your chips in one corner, Ben, where would you put them?
I'm sorry, I can't think what I'm thinking right now. I think, yeah, that is probably what's going to happen. Whoever manages to get the most possession, probably who gets the best chance, puts it away, will probably be the winner of this match. It's
good early pressure from GBG Knights. looking to pen Middlesbrough back into their own half. Oscar Smedley with his first involvement, trying to take it away from Kath Goldsborough. Little lapse in communication there. Jack Ewins wanted to engage that. It needed Oscar Smedley to clear that channel. Earlier end to end in the first 2 minutes. Jack Ewins looks to work the space. Exactly how they set up against Villa. Ewins was the one controlling things in the centre, restricting the opposition attacks, and George Holloway and Kai Shah high and wide as options in attack. To the 180 of Kai Shah, all the way back into GBG Knights' half. Cleared by George Holloway. Into Carl Forster, trying to trap it. Unable to do so. Shake of the head of the Borough number 10. Holloway. Feint from Jack Ewins. Smedley.
Just misses it, hits that.
Yeah, a good secondary effort. Kai Shah, optimistic effort. Something we saw in that game against Villa, that they can turn defence into attack in a split second. Needs that alertness, that readiness of those wingers, which they didn't quite have on that occasion, but
they
positive sign.
Counter.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's how they'll play a lot of their football this season. They won't be naive to the quality of this division, having pretty much dominated last season's championship. They know they'll come up against a lot of quality teams, a lot of teams with attacking intent. It's just absorbing that pressure and then capitalising in moments. Into Carl Forster, finds the gap. That's disappointing from GBG Knights. You can see the look of frustration. Oscar Smedley just didn't cover that post. Carl Forster absolutely clinical.
Yeah, I think there may have needed to be a bit more communication, telling Smedley there was quite a big gap behind him there. Yeah. I don't know if he realised. Yeah,
I think he should probably know. He should be aware of that position. Such an important role to cover that post. And Middlesbrough, I think the experience they gained from last season's Premiership may tell come the conclusion. And it showed there that they just find a way to break through. But I wouldn't be too disheartened if I'm Oscar Smedley. Again, I've said it every game where I've watched them and commentated on them. This is only his second ever National League season, one of which in the Championship. This is his first outing in the top flight. So you have to give him a grace period and adjustment time. You can see now he's looking behind him, he's assessing that gap. So already looks to have learned from that mistake, and that's, I think, how you develop as a player. You make mistakes and then ensure that you address and you adjust. Umar Hanif just squeezing between Ewins and Smedley. He's going to act as a screen. Again, Oscar Smedley with the responsibility of both blocking the channel in front of him and the goal behind him. It's a physical battle so far. Trapped by Oscar Smedley. Laser focus from Umar Hanif. Just making sure that ball continues to roll.
Gonna try and win a corner here.
Yeah,
he does
so brilliantly. Just off the back wheel of Jack Ewins. 7 minutes played. GBG Knights 0, Middlesbrough 1. Encourage everyone to tune in to the next fixture on Court B. Teesside versus Aspire. A huge game at the top of the table. This one more towards the bottom would give Middlesbrough a nice return from game week 1. And it goes across the box. How that didn't go over the line, I don't know. I'd have to watch it back. Kath Goldsborough squeezed it through. Umar Hanif was the screen.
There probably should have been somebody on the back post there just to...
Carl Forster was, but he was suspecting that it would go through the Umar Hanif gap as opposed to the one between the defenders. And that is a real let-off for GBG Knights, who are really being tested here this afternoon. They're playing with confidence, Middlesbrough. They've had a lot of close calls. Very narrow defeats. And I think their accumulation of points, or the lack of, therefore, aren't a fair assessment of the performances, the defensive organisation, which have been fantastic, testing the likes of Leeds and West Bromwich Albion.
Middlesbrough really keeping GBG Knights in. They really can't get out of their own half. Yeah,
James Found just watching on from afar. Into Carl Forster. No real angle. They'll be happy to let that roll out for a goal kick.
Maybe a chance for GBG Knights to get up the pitch here.
Into George Holloway. Doesn't have the power really to set him away. So advantage played, otherwise it would have been a sure 2-on-1 in favour of Middlesbrough. It's been a switch up. In terms of tactics, is Carl Forster's going to have an attempt on goal, blocked on the line by Kai Shah, who's now operating as part of that central pivot. Oscar Smedley on the wings.
It's another kick in for Middlesbrough.
Kath Goldsborough to take. Umar Hanif vacates the space at the last possible second, and George Holloway has time, has space, but just gives possession back to Umar Hanif and catches him on the follow through. Contact allowed. Jack Ewins into Holloway. Good to see Oscar Smedley out wide. Last season's top provider in the Championship, but for game week 1 he's played as the most defensive as the 4 GBG Knights players, predominantly anyway. This is a 6-point affair towards the bottom, as is the one on Court A, Sevenoaks versus Throssels. George Holloway attacks it.
I think that probably was going behind them if he managed to get that touch there. But Middlesbrough coming straight back up the pitch.
Good communication from Umar Hanif, just to let Carl Forster know his intentions, his advancement. Jack Ewins diagonally splitting across the court. Looking for that flick to George Holloway, you can tell. But Umar Hanif, it's a big season for him. Impressed in the 24-25 campaign. but no doubt he has high hopes currently in the National Emergent Talent Programme. He looks so settled, so comfortable at this level. Only his second season competing in the Premiership. Diagonal ball to Oscar Smedley. Fires an effort towards goal. A secondary effort also saved by James Found. And now what was an attack turns into defence. I think I would have liked to have seen Oscar Smedley with the 180 there. Just wasn't able to generate the power to trouble James Found.
Was good positioning though by the goalkeeper.
Very much so. Cole Forster just flicks it goal bound. Again, nothing to really trouble Jack Ewins. Fairly end-to-end stuff in the last 5 minutes. Flicked back to Umar Hanif. I think this game as a whole is just missing a little bit of quality.
Yeah, it's very end-to-end at the moment. Passes aren't quite what they want.
No, they are just missing that little bit of snap, that bit of accuracy, which is, of course, playing into this fairly cagey form of football.
GBG Knights just can't get that power in the passing.
No, all of their success tends to stem from that, putting those wingers away. And you know, if they do set them away, there is chances to have Oscar Smedley finish as last season's Championship top provider. George Holloway finishes last season's Championship top goal scorer. So they can really connect brilliantly when given the chance. As Middlesbrough make a change, Cole Forster, the goal scorer, off. Ethan Galloway comes on. First involvement.
Across here.
Trying to put it in the box. Finds the angle, but Kai Sharp across the cover. 14 minutes played. Still just a goal separates them. Can generate some fantastic power, Kath Goldsborough. Second opportunity here. Into the side of Jack Ewins. Flicked back to the Borough number 7. Imran Hanif desperately back to receive. I don't think he was anticipating the ball to come straight down the line.
GBG Knights with another sub. I think that was Medley off for Reece Mallet.
Jack Ewins. James Found. Strong play. Deemed too aggressive from George Holloway. Maybe some frustration setting in.
Yeah, he's not had too much, too many chances with the ball up. He's mainly just been that outlet, hopefully, when they get the ball up.
Confirmation of that earlier GBG Knights substitute. Reece Mallet on in place of Oscar Smedley. Jack Ewins.
Straight at Kath.
Yeah, it's too easy, isn't it? As Galloway patiently waits to engage. Slightly back. It's nice football. Across the box. Needs George Holloway to prevent it reaching Kath Goldsborough.
Manages to keep that in all the way up.
Just stuck to his bumper there, so couldn't connect as cleanly as he would have liked, but still wins the kick in for GBG Knights. James Found. It's a very brave approach from GBG Knights. They're clearly looking to influence that scoreline, committing players forward, which, whilst exciting, leaves a huge vulnerability in behind if Borough can break with pace.
Heavy contact there.
Yeah.
Just takes the spin, doesn't really check.
It's sensible work from Umar Hanif to almost put himself in the firing line. He knew what he was doing. Knew he would have taken a whack, but it was always going to result in a free kick being awarded in Borough's favour and quashing that chance and opportunity of GBG Knights. Strange approach here from Borough. They're just trying to push it up the court through a sea of opposition players.
I think they just saw the keeper quite high off his line and thought they might as well try or get it up the pitch.
Two on one in favour of GBG Knights. In the final few minutes of this first half, can they make it count? They haven't had any real opportunities.
They can try and, if they can get something here that will be good for the half time.
Yeah, it'd be huge for them. It just completely hits the reset button into George Holloway. Just wasn't set, wasn't ready.
Good defending though.
Yeah, very much so. Ewins into Holloway. Just seem a little bit out of ideas, GBG Knights.
They're unable to get those spins off. They're being blocked out of all of them.
Final 45 seconds. Looks as if Middlesbrough will take a goal advantage into the half-time break. I think that was the case against Leeds. They preserved the lead into the half-time interval, and then it was the second half that Leeds managed to reverse the scoreline in their favour. So they won't want the same to happen here. With all due respect to GBG Knights, competing at a very different level to Leeds. So they'll hope that they can maintain what will be a very valuable 3 points. Now observe the 20 minutes. As Jack Ewins tries to force his way round. It needs both Umar Hanif and James Found to desperately race over to that right post. And a penalty has been awarded to GBG Knights. Firstly, fantastic play of Jack Ewins. I think James Found just left a little wheel in, clipped the back of the GBG Knights keeper. And we spoke about how good it would be if GBG Knights found the equaliser this side of the half. They have a perfect opportunity to do so. Kai Shah to take, James Found to defend, fired into the post. Just trying to understand what the decision is. Did look as if James Found moved, but a goal kick, or a free kick, sorry, is the result. That's a real disappointment for GBG Knights.
Yeah,
would have been
really
the perfect opportunity to, arguably against the run of play, find an equaliser, but it is Middlesbrough that go into the break a goal to the good, and you have to say they're good value for it. They've been dominant. They've penned GBG Knights right back into their own half, and they have a lot to do if they're to reverse this scoreline. Thank you to all that are tuning in to myself, and Ben Rogers will be back very shortly for the second half. Hello everyone, welcome back. Second half. This fixture between GBG Knights and Middlesbrough. A cagey, tense, closely contested first 20 minutes. Middlesbrough very much in the ascendancy. A very late opportunity for GBG Knights via a penalty, which was missed by Kai Shah. How important will that be come the conclusion of the game? Or the season as a whole? We know how close it will be at the bottom as they're picking up where they left off. Borough on the front foot attacking. They've made a change at the break. Carl Forster back on for Ethan Galloway, as I think 3 in the box is signalled. A little bit of complacency settle in for GBG Knights, who have also made a change. Ben Keat on for George Holloway. And this, a good opportunity to register their second. Kath Goldsborough to take.
GBG Knights really need to weather the storm and try and just hit them on the counter, really, at the moment, it looks like.
Into the 180 of Umar Hanif. That was seriously powerful. But I agree. I think it's as much a psychological challenge for them now as anything else, because they're going to be frustrated with the manner in which they conceded firstly, and the penalty that was missed. 2 lapses in concentration has left them chasing this game. Ben Keat tries to turn defence into attack.
Tries for the spin.
It's a very busy player. Looks to disrupt the rhythm of the opposition. Competing in his first ever National League weekend here in England. Flying over from Australia for each of the 5 Premiership weekends is fantastic. Commitment to accessing top-level Powerchair football regularly. He was present with Western Sydney Wanderers at the recent Club World Cup. It's Kath Goldsborough to take.
It does look like GBG Knights still have fixed the problem with the gap behind at the post.
Yeah, I agree with that. No matter what player's there has been space, hasn't there, for opposition to capitalise on. Jack Ewins, disappointing, just straight into the path of Umar Hanif. They'll be disappointed with this performance, knowing the high standards of the group. Irrelevant of expectation of whether they're likely to win or not, they're going to want to hold themselves to a higher level, and mistakes have just crept into their game here.
Yeah, just lapse of concentration in areas which are quite dangerous to give away opportunities.
Yeah, very much so. Umar Hanif into the 180 of Carl Forster. That's disappointing from them. They should at the very least be making contact.
That would have been a very good chance had he made contact there, though.
George Holloway on. Not quite sure who's coming off. I assume Ben Keat. So a short cameo for the Australian. Into Kai Shah, pushes it into the direction of George Holloway, but Kath Goldsborough there to intercept. Just ricochets.
Good defending there.
Yeah, it was, but it's still present.
GBG United just can't get past the halfway line.
No, they can't, can they? Again, as was the case in the first half, certainly for 70–80%. James Found just watching on as the 3 players in front of him do an incredibly effective job at limiting space and opportunity. George Holloway's primed to intercept. Goes into Umar Hanif. Cole Forster just arced out of the trajectory of that ball at the last second.
Middlesbrough doing really well to block all of those passing lanes.
They are. They're just suffocating them wingers of service, aren't they? This is how they're going to have to try and get their way back into it. Just force it up. We saw them get their penalty for a very similar phase of Jack Ewins just flicking the ball off of the bumpers of the Borough defenders, and they just clipped him in that first half. They'll be alert to that potential threat here.
Middlesbrough just trying to stop the ball from moving here so they can get...
Yeah, Jack Ewins constantly just tapping it every now and again to
maybe
ensure it maintains its momentum and continues to roll. I think he's just given up. He just stops now. Whistle in the mouth of Graham Mulgrew as the ball from court A rolls onto the court we're commentating on. I think it shocked Jack Ewins a little bit.
I don't know how he even got there. It must have come all the way from the other side of the pitch.
Umar Hanif so strong in the dribble. That's of no real threat to him.
Doesn't manage to keep it in. This is a really good chance for GBG Knights to maybe get something from this.
That's a rare mistake. Certainly in those 180s that Kai Shah is so good at. Highlighted it in their earlier defeat to Villa Rockets, that being a real asset to his game.
Normally, they just need to make sure. Take a bit of time to take the ball. Don't rush anything.
It's opening up a little bit as they commit players forward. Umar Hanif into Carl Forster, generating some successive passes with his central player. (1-0) here on court B, 1-0 on court A as well. West Bromwich Albion Throssels, a goal to the good against Sevenoaks, who, unless they can find a goal or two within that one, will leave game week 1 with no points.
Ball just rolls out over there.
Jack Ewins, Umar Hanif primed to intercept. Middlesbrough have just done a really good job at frustrating GBG Knights, who look a little bit out of ideas as we approach the 30-minute mark.
Dutch just trying to force that ball up the pitch. Hopefully he can get he gets a free kick. No, kick him from that.
Quickly taken. Once again, the ball from court A rolls over. Reece Mallett comes into the centre as an option, flicks it over to George Holloway. I think this performance, we owe so much credit to Kath Goldsborough and Umar Hanif. They have been persistent in just breaking up any and all momentum generated by GBG Knights.
They're just getting in the right position, stopping them from setting the chairs.
It's not for the want of trying, but as you can see there, Jack Ewins had a line of sight to George Holloway, but Kath Goldsborough across to cover. Substitute signalled. Be interesting to see who it's for. Cole Forster off. Thomas Pettigrew features for the first time this game. It's an interesting role of that high and wide winger for Borough. Tend to be very isolated because this battle has been predominantly in the centre, and it's all about the role of Kath Goldsborough and Umar Hanif. Thomas Pettigrew will just want to maintain concentration levels and readiness if and when the ball breaks to him. But he'll play a secondary role to the two central players.
Yeah, they're very fluid. One of them will always be on the wing, and like they keep changing between the middle and the wing. Very
good 2-on-1 discipline. And despite those constant rotations, they never really mix their roles up, as GBG Knights make a substitute, bring in George Holloway back, Oscar Smedley on for Reece Mallett, so they will play the last 8-9 minutes with the same starting four that begun the game. Arguably their strongest on paper. All the way down, out for a goal kick.
Just get some territory there. And that's what they were looking for.
Ewan's goal kick.
Hanif just seems to be predicting exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah, he reads the game so well, and that's what is leading to this lack of success for GBG Knights. Every time they think they've gained an advantage, got some space, he's there to sweep it up. Strong play. Deemed too aggressive on that occasion, though.
They keep trying the same thing. They might need to, like, I don't know, try something different, but they clearly seem to be lacking ideas at the moment.
Again, I think that's frustration. I think they're slightly out of ideas. They'll need a weekend or two to settle in this division. You can probably reference it, Ben, but whilst the championship level increases and develops year after year, there's still a significant gap between that and the Premiership. So any teams that come up via the championship will always have an incredibly tough task on their hands to maintain Premiership status.
Yeah, you can probably see it with Nottinghamshire. Like last season in the Premiership, they were finding it really hard, and this season they've won all 4 of their matches in the Championship by loads of goals, and they just weren't able to do that in the Premiership.
When you're watching it, can you see the pace difference, or do you think you have to get in a chair, you have to experience it to really appreciate it?
I think there's a lot of similarities between the Championship, and you kind of, when you're sitting here, you don't really realise how different it is. I think until you're probably in a chair playing against these teams, you probably don't realise how good they are. I mean, you can see how good they are, but probably not as much as they probably compared to the Championship.
Strong contact as Thomas Pettigrew swipes into the divider between the two courts. 5.5 minutes to go. It will need a real moment of magic, luck, quality, something from GBG Knights if they're to secure any points from this. It's not exactly set the world alight in terms of the quality, but the effectiveness of Middlesbrough has really told.
They might be a little bit not too happy with that. They've only scored 1, because at any chance, GBG Knights are still in it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. They want to be more of an attacking threat, but I think they're managing this game. They're not committing too many players forward. They're not necessarily looking for that second goal. They're just...
game management.
Yeah, you look at the positions of Umar Hanif and Kath Goldsborough. They're almost a pair in the centre, out of possession. And then in possession, they switch to accommodate each other's role. Let's not forget, a lot of teams have struggled to break Borough down. Not just game week 1 of the 25-26 season, but across last year as well. I mean, yesterday it was 2 1-0 defeats to West Bromwich Albion and West Bromwich Albion Throssels before a 4-0 defeat to Aspire. This morning, 2-1 defeat to Leeds. So beyond the Aspire one, the margins are so fine between them and the opposition, which shows how tough they are to break down.
Got a dangerous free kick here.
Yeah, I suspect Thomas Pettigrew is the target. Goes dead central. Must have been a direct free kick. Haven't quite caught that when being awarded by Graham Mulgrew. Rare territory in the final third for Kai Shah, trying to keep that in.
Just keeps it in, I think.
Yeah, corner ball. Substitute signalled. Ethan Galloway on for Thomas Pettigrew. As suspected, a very isolated role for Thomas Pettigrew, as I suspect it will be for Ethan Galloway now, because this game is just being locked up in the centre by Hanif and Goldsborough. But this is an opportunity for GBG Knights against the run of play to find an equaliser.
They really need to use one of these free kicks or kick-ins.
They don't look like they have real purpose. There's real intent. It's more just hit and hope. I'd like to see them take their time a little bit, maybe go over to one another and talk, communicate. So everyone's singing off that same song sheet. 38 minutes gone. Still GBG Knights 0. Middlesbrough 1. Carl Forster in the opening minutes of the first half.
It's like Middlesbrough just trying to get territory here.
Yeah, and that's disappointing again from GBG Knights. George Holloway's placement, both of them drawn towards that same ball. They'll be frustrated with this performance. It's just how they use it, how they channel it to hopefully yield success in other comparable matchups in the 25-26 campaign. Jack Ewins forces his way up. But as we have said, still just one goal in this. They could still find a way through. More intent from Jack Ewins, but once again closed by Umar Hanif. Who's your player of the match, Ben?
I think I'm going to give it to Umar Hanif, but just because he's just been there every single time, and he just made sure that GBG Knights just cannot move that ball around.
He's been the standout, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's clearly.
He's been there whenever needed to stop those passing lanes.
Final 30 seconds. Maybe one last opportunity. James Found this time, coming out the box to close. Appeals from Kai Shah. Can he force it through? Middlesbrough would be bitterly disappointed if they go on to drop 2 points. There's been no threat on their goal beyond that penalty, of course. He'll go back to that moment, Knights. Think of what could have been as they're committing all players forward now in pursuit of that goal, which could yield a single point. Graham Mulgrew glances at his watch. We've played the regulation 40. Middlesbrough will be victorious.
Yeah, I don't think GBG Knights will be able to get another attack now.
And that is the full-time whistle. GBG Knights 0, Middlesbrough 1. A gritty, stubborn, professional performance from Middlesbrough, who end the weekend on a high. Commiserations to GBG Knights. They just couldn't figure out the puzzle that was Umar Hanif and Kath Goldsborough, and that proved the difference come the full-time whistle. Thank you to all that have tuned in, to myself and Ben. Next up on Court B, the big one, Teesside versus Aspire.